So, can you tell us, first of all, when did you start at NASA?
1963, probably before your father was born, right?
Fly me to the moon, let me play among the stars.
When John Glenn made his first orbital flight, I was in residency in New York, and I got all fired up about the space agency. But at the time, there was really no opportunities for civilian docs. Mostly there were Air Force or military docs that were coming in. So I wrote some letters that bounced all over the system. Finally, I decided to pick up and come out here to Ames Research Center without a job.
When I first met Ralph, I'm not really sure. It was a long time ago. He was the medical monitor that I first ran into when I first was doing experiments here with human subjects. He was always deeply interested in how the subjects in human research experiments fared. I came to Ames in the summer of 1982, that's right. I was doing some planning work with the shuttle, but Ralph was directly involved with the landings and looking out for the astronauts when they came back from the flight missions.
I was the medical monitor on the console down at in the Mojave Desert where the first shuttle landings occurred. And the reason they occurred there rather than at Kennedy was because the desert had unlimited landing area as compared to Kennedy where they had a runway, and at the end of the runway was a swamp and crocodiles. We did support their medical research problems. Even simple things like would people be able to swallow and digest in a weightless environment? When the astronauts would come back, we would examine them. And one of the things we found consistently was that they had trouble standing up, and occasionally they would actually go unconscious. And in other words, they would faint, or what we call syncope. And that's why we have a whole program of what we call countermeasures that they do in space to prevent those kinds of effects, like exercise, for instance. They do a lot of exercise.
I met Ralph Pellegra when I went through the Institutional Review Board. You have to go through this board in order to get permission to have human subjects in your experiments.
Since I retired, I still work on the Human Research Committee. It's HRIRB, Human Institutional Review Board.
As a board, we review all research protocols that involve humans in stressful situations. Our main concern is to make sure that whatever research they're doing or proposing to do justifies any risks.
Because of his experience, he has an intuitive knowledge of and insight into whether a study is going to be a good one.
When they come here to NASA as a volunteer, say not the astronauts, but regular folks from the community, which we often do, they're all excited about being part of NASA, and they're willing to sign almost anything. We have to actually make an extra effort to say, wait a minute now, you know, it's your body, you're going to be jostled, jiggled, stuck, and what have you. You want to be sure you understand what you're getting into.
Ralph has been the chair of this committee for, I'm really not sure how many years, but as long as I can remember.
Why did you decide to live in a houseboat?
To make a long story short, it was affordable initially, and we were also attracted to the nonconformity, the history here of free thinkers having developed it. I think I'm more of a thinker than a doer, though, because I'm more of an armchair thinker. my background in college was philosophy, you know, and I'm not sure what I would do if you gave me a hammer. NASA has to be incredibly practical to actually physically send a human being into outer space. I mean, you can't do that from an armchair, you know. At the end of the day, you've got a human life in a hostile environment, and you've got to ensure, again, that not only that they're safe, but they're able to work effectively and come back, you know, come back home.
The guy's a real delight. He's a considerate person and very involved in what he does.
I kind of joke with my colleagues here that I think the last view I'm going to have of Ames here is the ceiling as they wheel me out in a stretcher. To answer your question briefly, I'm just going to continue to do what I'm doing until I can't anymore, I guess. Yeah.